welcome to another edition of Social Currents, episode 3, live from Hong Kong. It's 1 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, where I have some of Hong Kong's leading socialistas with me today to talk about political elections in the age of social media. With me is Asha Phillips, Regional Bureau Chief of Regional Bureau Chief of Storyful, a social media news wire out there making sure that all of our social media facts are right before we spread them around. I've got Andrew Layton, serial entrepreneur, startups, and tech. Oops, we've lost another of our participants. We'll be back in a second. But anyways, Andrew, well connected with the tech scene here in Hong Kong with the startup crowd and commenter on all things social media. And joining us in a moment will be Ali Bullock, Head of Communications, World Wildlife Fund, also a thought leader in social media. Where is he? Coming back.
Sorry, we had a crash there. I'm back. I'm here.
Yeah, there he is, Ali Bullock. Say hello to everybody, Ali.
Hello and greetings. And
I am Jay Oatway, founder of HK Social, a monthly meeting of social media practitioners here in Hong Kong. We meet the first Friday of every month, which is next Friday morning. We'll be broadcasting live from j.mp/hksocial-live. Be able to follow the news, and we will have the lovely Asha Phillips with us, and we will be carrying on much of the discussion that we have going on today, next week, in front of a live audience. That's not to say there isn't a live audience today, just not yet. We're currently at 0 viewers. However, this is recorded and on YouTube forevermore afterwards. So yes, protect your small children if you don't want them to be, Yeah,
I got one walking around in here right now.
Yeah. Right, and for those of you finding this on YouTube, you can also find our Social Currents page on G+. Quick way to get there is to go to socialcurrents.tv, and of course you can find all our hangouts there, as well as more information about us and our guests. Right, so first thing is to get into a little bit of a background. Some people are calling the current U.S. political election, presidential election, the first social media election. However, that's not exactly true. Social media, while new, it's not quite that new. And in fact, I've got a little screen we can share here, that this has been around for some time. Let's see if I can share that with everybody here. So, yeah, some of the numbers, just so everybody can, if you can't see that, just a reminder that in 2008, Barack Obama had 2.3 million supporters on Facebook, back when supporters on Facebook meant something, and 112,000 followers on Twitter, and 114,000 subscribers to something. I'm guessing that's YouTube? Yes, YouTube. So today, those numbers have obviously exploded, mushroomed. 28.7 million supporters on Facebook, 19.9 million followers on Twitter, and 27,000 subscribers on YouTube. So it's definitely, an order of magnitude bigger, in many cases, several. But this isn't the first social media election. This is just the social media election that's gone mainstream. But maybe, Ashley, could you talk us through a little bit of some of the other things, from a journalist perspective? What else has social media been involved in politically worldwide over the last few years?
Pretty much everything, to be honest. I mean, any election that has happened or any kind of political event that has been happening around the world has been reported on Twitter, and on YouTube and on Facebook and on Weibo and all of the local social media sites as well. I mean, the Arab Spring is the first thing that comes to mind because, I mean, the fall of Hosni Mubarak in Egypt, it was all reported on Twitter, and at that time I was working at ABC in Australia, working in broadcast, and it happened at around 3 a.m. I think in Sydney. And the first reports didn't come from Reuters or AP or any other kind of news source. It came from people on the ground in Tahrir Square who, were seeing it happen. And as Hosni Mubarak stepped up and said, that's it, I'm done, the people have spoken and this is what's happening. And since that time, all political elections and events have been widely reported on Twitter, not only by citizens but also by journalists. And of course, we're seeing daily updates from Syria on YouTube and on Twitter and on Facebook, and that's kind of the only source of news at the moment coming out of Syria.
Now, Andrew, you watch the Twitter streams and G+ streams quite closely. Has it been difficult for you to see much political coverage of the U.S. elections? I know you're an American living here in Hong Kong. Has it been difficult? Have you had to filter? Have you had to search for these things?
No, I had to turn it off, to be honest. It's gotten to be a bit of a noise. We've always known where to go to get our American political feeds. From Politico to Roll Call to several other political sites and and then of course there's the echo chambers you can jump into, the right or left echo chambers if you want to get your positions reinforced. But honestly, I've turned off a lot of politics on my feeds. I've unfollowed some people because they're basically brain dead morons, and I just didn't want to hear what they had to say anymore. I'm very much in line with. The piece that was ran in the Washington Post last Saturday by Kathleen Parker, and she talked about how social media was infantilizing the elections, and she really lit into some of the focus on binders and bayonets and Big Bird, the big B's and Benghazi even. These are this election is being decided on 4 entirely pointless issues as far as social media was concerned. But, it is fun, though, to find out, if you follow some of the political reporters who are on the ground, or in the buses, you are getting the tidbits that you don't get, that gets filtered out from the regular media, the funny little stories. Like, for example, Mitt Romney officiated the football game between his staff and the reporters last week. And what you didn't really get in the news story, but which I picked up off the social media wires, was that after he did the coin toss, he went to his players and he said, "Listen, guys, I really want you to hurt them, break a leg." It was these little kind of insights that get filtered out from the polite media that still came through in the social media.
You're not alone in wanting to turn this stuff off. There's actually sort of 2 camps to it. There's one here, a site that says, it's from Savvy Sexy Social, is politics, why I'm not mad at my opinionated social connections. Basically, there's 4 types of people when it comes to talking politics on social media. Those who love to get on their soapbox and preach, those who call out their friends for sharing their views publicly, those who indirectly make their views clear based on what they comment or share, and those who quietly observe. And it sort of goes through explaining this, that saying we're basically not we're more informed population because we've got social media, but also that you're right, there is a lot of this sort of just crazy discussion. It's almost impossible to avoid your crazy uncle and his opinions and everything else that's going on when you're watching your social media streams. Is this good? I mean, Asha, like from a media perspective, I was a former journalist and editor. The idea was that you tried to give people things they wanted to hear, or maybe they didn't want to hear, but that was important for them. Today, with all of our social filters, is it good that we're not living in this echo chamber, that we are hearing things we don't want to hear?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's both positives and negatives. I mean, there's a risk that through social media it becomes way too noisy and there's too much information out there. But, those who are sophisticated and understand how social media works can filter their own feeds and can create their own lists in Twitter and follow the right people who are talking about specific issues or perhaps who have certain affiliations with parties. So in that sense, it can be very restricted in some ways, and that you may not get the balanced view and the balanced reporting that you would see in mainstream media, which of course that they have to do, they're obliged to do. I mean, I think we're not really going to know whether it's how much of an impact social media has in this US election until we see the voter turnout. And I suspect that voter turnout is going to be higher than 2008 because I think people are more engaged on social media, and they do get more involved in understanding the issues and have discussions around it. But I mean, I think overall it's not a bad thing. I mean, for me personally, I'm obviously reporting on this, and I totally understand everything that's going on as a journalist because that's my job. But as a person, I'm able to really dig in and find the little tidbits and the things that don't get reported on the CNN bulletins, etc. And I think that that can't be a bad thing for people because it gives more of an insight into who Obama is, who Romney is, and the people behind them in their campaigns.
Yeah, I completely agree. I too have I run TweetDeck on a separate monitor. It runs 24/7, and I have a column set up. But I track mostly tech industry people. So I'm watching tech news. I'm watching social media news. These people, but this is the thing that I always preach for really successful social media accounts, is that these people aren't just talking about just business all the time. They're just talking about everything that they're passionate about, which most of the time is technology. But if some of these people who are living in the U.S. right now obviously are getting caught up in the excitement of the presidential election, and so what are normally very geeky tech-centric columns are now being filled with people's political comments, especially during the debates. Often I'd forget because of time zones that the live debates were going on, but I'd glance over at TweetDeck and suddenly I'd see all these people making live comments as to what's going on in the debate. And so even people like myself who weren't intentionally trying to watch it, I'm a Canadian, I don't have a vote in this election, I live in Hong Kong, I'm outside the time zone for it, I don't see a lot of the mainstream media, but this thing is washing everywhere. Like it's almost unavoidable for me to even just look at social media without coming across it. Ali, as somebody else who doesn't have a horse in this election, have you had a similar experience?
I agree, don't have a horse in this election anymore, not for about 100 years or so anyway. I get all of my political news from The Daily Show and The Colbert Report. So that's all I have to say about the US election. Hand it back to the United Kingdom and everything would be good. Until that happens, you know what, the US is the US.
I wish we had a chat room full of Americans right now. That would,
I played video games during the debate. I didn't even want to see my social media feed. I just knew it was going to be a waterfall of crap. I mean, to be honest, I don't know if you know, but I worked in politics. I worked on Capitol Hill nearly a decade before I went into tech. And, the techies love to make fun of politicians when they talk about tech. When you hear the internet is a bunch of tubes, of course the internet explodes.
Al Gore invented the internet.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's silly. The thing is, when I see the opposite, when I see techies talking policy, sometimes it's just at the same level of discussion and discourse. It's somewhat superficial at times, and it just tunes me out. I've become really apolitical because things have gotten so tense and annoying, quite honestly. I've already cast my vote, but I really don't. Hey, I'm in Hong Kong now. They don't tax me that much, and I'm over here. So
don't say it too loud. They'll come after you. Have you tried this Chrome plugin on Unpolitic Me? Is it working for you?
I should try that. I have a Kardashian plugin that takes out Kardashian stories.
Well, this kind of works the same way. For those of you watching at home, you might want to check this out. It's in the Chrome store. Just for those of you who've never been to the Chrome store, it's a place full of web apps that plug into your Chrome browser, do pretty kind of cool things. And in this case, it tries its best to look for political pictures and to replace them with cat pictures, because that's what the internet does. It hasn't worked so well for me. I tried testing it out yesterday. It has to be, I think, pretty obvious Obama or Romney pictures, it seems, before it gets cut out. But this is an interesting idea. Or maybe disconcerting idea. And I think Ash's perspective on this, again, from a journalism point of view, if people are putting in filters again so that they essentially are covering their ears and la 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 la, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to see it, I don't want to hear anything about it. I think that's bad. That's bad for a society who, really what we should be doing is being open to ideas. And obviously those who are working in the news, I mean, this could be a scary idea if everybody's got filters on their browser that cut out any mention of a story that they're sick of. Or is that a good thing? Or should we know that they're filtering out? Or should we know when the readers are bored of it and they want to move on?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, people have been filtering stuff since, there were newspapers and TV came around. It's no different now. It's just that people are doing it on a larger scale, I guess, and through different means. I guess from a journalist point of view, I think it would be really interesting to know, get some stats around what people are filtering out and what they're monitoring. I know Twitter keeps a very, very close eye on politics stuff, and they've got their own barometer of what's happening, it's the political index from Twitter. But they're not really, they're not measuring so much what people are filtering or watching, but they're tracking people's tweets and what they're tweeting about and who they're supporting, and they've come up with this Twindex to kind of measure who's winning. At the moment, Obama's on 39 and Mitt Romney's on 28. So, how influential is that these days? Well, it's hard to say, but I think it's really interesting as a journalist to be across that sort of stuff, and even to use that as a part of a tool in reporting the stories.
I agree, and I want to come back to that point for a second. First, I just want to ask Ali, this idea of people being able to bury their heads in the sand. Now, you work for an NGO that looks after some pretty major issues, things that people often don't want to hear or talk about. But should people be allowed to bury their head in the sand? Don't we have a responsibility to go beyond that?
That's a good question. I mean, I think I agree with your earlier point. Twitter with those lists, and I think, also to what Andrew said, you can now filter your politics based on whether you're a fan of the Democrats or a fan of the Republicans. So as opposed to getting neutral news stories like the BBC, where you can actually hear both sides of the story, now you really are polarizing people, and that may be a negative side of social media, because you're just going to see the Republican view, and that's all you're going to get. In terms of NGOs, and as Andrew said, this is a big problem. People are just getting so used now to this idea of elections, and they're getting fed up with it. As Andrew said, I'm turning off my feed. I'm not going to look at it. People now have the ability to say, if I don't want to hear this sad news story, I don't want to hear about the election, I'm just not going to tune in. I'm just going to tune out. And that's a very, very serious issue, I think, for a lot of people.
What I found recently is what Ali was saying is, I was subconsciously self-filtering what I was reading based on some of the headlines. I'd say, well, I really don't care what this guy says about it. And it was getting to be that I was starting to enter the echo chamber. So literally 4 or 5 weeks ago, I decided to stop that by getting a paper newspaper in which every story is thrown in front of me. I make it a conscious habit now to at least look at every headline of a physical newspaper. I get 2 or 3 papers a day now here in Hong Kong. And the reason is because I guarantee if you read a newspaper, you will find a story that you would not have read online, because it's the way it's presented, the layout, the picture, whatever. There's something there. You will discover something. And, going back to my internet political habits, I have to consciously make an effort now to read both sides. I have Krautheimer and Krugman, the top conservative and the top liberal opinion writers, and I force myself to read both each day. And I go to Daily Kos, which is the big liberal site, and I go to Instapundit, which is one of the top conservative sites. You have to almost force yourself, because your brain just starts to filter it out automatically.
I noticed that even last night, Ali and I had caught up for a quick drink after work, and we were talking the politics of the tech world, which is, are you an Apple fanboy or are you an Android fanboy? Mm-hmm. And we were trying to be like civil about the whole thing, but the internet has this way of polarizing people. Like when you start reading so much about either whatever side it is that you're on, you sort of arm yourself with all of these facts and figures and things to fight one particular argument, rather than trying to carry that sort of fair and balanced idea of all the arguments in your head at once. And maybe that's the realm of the journalist. Maybe those are the only people left who are still sort of mandated to try and hold both sides of the argument in their head at once. But even that, I find that the media is getting increasingly polarized. Don't you think, Asha?
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of, I guess it sort of starts with social media, and that's polarizing people's opinions, and then it's spreading into mainstream for sure. I mean, even more so than it would have previously, I think.
It's funny you mentioned the Apple Android, but it breaks down even into more subjects. I mean, you ever see the Canon versus Nikon debates that go on the internet? Wow. And this is one that, being a father, I have discovered, and you might appreciate this, Jay, is if you go to YouTube and you type fire trucks responding, you'll see these videos of fire trucks coming out of the station and going to a fire. And in the comments, guys argue about the sirens. They're like, you're using that girl siren. Only wimps have those sirens on their fire trucks. We use the standard A65. And they go back and forth. And again, the internet just magnifies these battles about fire truck sirens. I mean, come on.
I do. I read comments. I see these sorts of things all the time. Good arguments devolving into crazy little semantic battles over one word here or there. And it's time to stop reading the comments when you get down to that sort of stuff. Do you guys know that Google Plus limits comments to 500?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's with that?
When you go to the most popular things, you always see it sort of hits the wall at 500.
Mm.
Is that a good length for? I mean, is that just a time to turn it off? Like, it's maybe Google wants something. Is there nothing valuable after 500 comments?
On a message board, if I go to, if there's more than 4 pages, I pretty much assume that someone's in a fight. By page 5, it's 2 people just niggling on something. It's whatever. And
is that what's ruining the political discourse now? Is it too much just niggling? Have we lost sight of the big picture and we're just talking about stupid details?
Totally unrelated details. I mean, you go to the Washington Post comment site, and it's not even a ballroom brawl. It's a swamp. It's a swamp of stupidity. I don't learn anything reading the comments. It's very rare that someone has something insightful to say. Mr. Journalist, you wrote this about the European thing. Do you think it could be related to the Greeks or something like that? No. It's like your mother. It's not relevant.
But not everybody's doing that. Like in the best case, people are fact checking, right? Asha, man, that's what you're doing. You're out there, and people are saying a ton of stuff, and we need somebody we can trust, we can go to, and who can say, no, what they were lying. That's not true at all. He doesn't have binders full of women. They're actually duotangs.
Exactly, and I think for the first time in a huge presidential campaign, we've seen Twitter play a really big role in fact-checking, especially during debates or, campaign speeches at certain venues and stuff like that. I mean, there's both sides of, both parties tweeting fact checks, but there's also journalists and citizens who are also doing their own bits of research and tweeting stuff out in reaction to comments by Obama or Romney, etc. And I think that's a major positive for social media in political debates, because it is allowing a certain a higher level of engagement and discussion, I think, which you wouldn't see through mainstream media because there's just not a platform for that.
Well, mainstream media prior to the social age, you'd be able to watch a debate, and then you'd see the professional journalists with experts talk about it. They do the fact checking. They sort of report back to you. They can do sort of breakdowns on it. And then maybe you stand around the water cooler with your friends and you sort of share that. But now all of that stuff is still happening, but it's all happening in real time, and it's all available. Every water cooler conversation is there. And so from the debate or from the stump speech, the spin doesn't stop, right? Some articles here talking about Spin Alley versus Twitter. So that the campaign managers, everybody, they're constantly jumping into these water cooler conversations.
Yeah.
So as we get into these niggly comments, we also have political operatives jumping in, trying to grab hold of the conversation, trying to steer it and do things with it. This has never been done before, right? This is what's kind of new.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Previously it was like there was a set time. In this blog post that it's by Anya Kerr, who's our political editor, she's talking about how the spin room as a physical place has now turned to literally just being on Twitter, and it's 24/7 now, and it never, shuts off. So, it does mean that, Obama's, campaign are able to kind of, like his managers are able to jump in on conversations, whereas previously, that wouldn't happen. So they're able to drive the conversation to a certain, in a certain direction.
Isn't that kind of what we want? Ali, in an NGO type sort of situation, can we learn stuff from what's going on here in politics and apply it to other things, like trying to do good in the world? If you're seeing people having conversations about pandas, right, we can get more people to save pandas, right? Like, is there lessons to be learned here?
There's definitely lessons to be learned for NGOs. I think lessons learned, as you say, on the good side about saving pandas, but also on the negative side of people are getting tired now of this social media experience for politics, for causes. You can't keep shocking people, and people are going to start to tune out. So there's lessons on both sides there, in my opinion.
Ollie, does your comment section and your comments degrade into he said, she said, environmental, greenhouse gas sort of climate change stuff? Or, does it get off the subject occasionally? Or
it does, Andrew. It's a very, very good point. Yes, frequently. We can find that. Normally with NGOs, because they're animals, it tends to stay in terms of trying to save the panda. But yeah, people will go off topic. And they'll say, various different things. Well, why is WWF doing this? Why are you not doing that? A lot of people do, of course, expect WWF to save the world all in one go. And sometimes we have to make compromises. Sometimes we have to look at certain things and say, well, this situation is a mess. What's the best we're going to get out of this? Right. And, that is difficult when it descends into that kind of like, oh, WWF is just taking the easy way. Well, not necessarily. And again, very, very difficult to, contain that argument when that starts off.
I want to go back to something that Sasha had mentioned a bit earlier about social media predicting sort of the outcome of the election. It certainly felt like social media was calling the debates. Even without watching them, I could just get a sense from Twitter, who was stronger and who wasn't stronger. And I know that's not exactly like some sort of scientific method, but just, gut feelings on it. Asher, what else is going on? Like, you're saying there was a numbers base. What was that thing where Obama had a higher score than Romney and what?
Okay, so there's election.twitter.com. It's Twitter's political index. So they're just calculating tweets supporting Obama and Romney and talking about each candidate. So it's basically, you can see there's a history, there's a sort of index that it's, looking at every day. It goes back to June. That you can break it down by topic areas to see, people talking about foreign policy or hot topics like Benghazi. And then basically, they're breaking that down into numbers of who's winning the race. And according to Twitter, Obama's, quite far ahead, and he's up a few points, on yesterday, whereas Romney's slid down a little bit. So, it's really interesting it'll be interesting to see, how accurate Twitter is, when it comes to the actual results. But I do think that, it's definitely a barometer of what, how people are feeling, but that's going to change day to day based on debates and certain events that are going on. And obviously in the last week, leading up to the actual election, it's the time for people to start deciding who they're going to vote for. So I think it's probably getting more and more accurate.
Yeah, but you also have a demographic skew that has to be factored out. I recall when I worked on Capitol Hill, we had just brought the internet to Capitol Hill. This was the early 1990s.
Yeah.
And we were looking at doing some email responses to letters and constituent concerns. But one of the things that was raised was, the people back in the early 1990s who were on the internet were not representative of all the people that we were dealing with. And, we look at social media, let's face it, it's the province of the under 30s.
Yeah.
I mean, there are older folks on there, but amongst my set, born in the 60s, I'd say probably 50% of my friends don't even have Facebook, let alone get onto Twitter. So I don't know how they skew that out. I'm looking here, it's Barack's got 10 million followers and Romney has 1.5.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they skew that or somehow.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest, like the way they measure it. But, coming back to the sort of demographics of Twitter, for sure it's going to be majority of younger people. But then you think, well, hopefully that, more younger people are going to vote, and obviously they're the future. So, you kind of think that, in the next election, 4 years away, is it going to be even more important then? And will there be other, of course there'll be other social media sites as well, whether or not they're of the same, kind of, if they're similar to Twitter or Facebook or something completely different. I mean, we don't know. But, I think even like from our point of view at Storyful, I mean, we are subscribing to and following loads of people on YouTube who are uploading videos, like just user-generated content when they're attending rallies and stuff. And they're not necessarily under 30s. A lot of them are like 50, 60-year-olds who are just really into politics and have just discovered YouTube, So it's definitely like the demographic is spread out across different social media sites.
I just was reading a survey, again, basically saying that Obama had more Facebook likes than Romney, and that if that mattered, they'll have to decide sort of after the election. But the survey also showed that voters expect candidates to have a social media presence.
Yeah.
And there's some other stats that were showing like 90% of Capitol Hill, I'm surprised it's not 100% of senators and congressmen have social media presence. And certainly in other elections around the world, I see them play out on social media now in a much bigger way. And it seems all the candidates, every candidate now has got some sort of social media presence. This is required in politics now, right? As we agreed, you can't do this sort of thing without it. My question for you is should the social CEO, the corporate executive in the social age, should they be following the same playbook? Can you be a business leader without a social media presence any more than you can be a political leader without a social media presence? Andrew?
Well, yeah, but it's part and parcel of your overall press relations strategy. I mean, I don't need to know what Bill Gates had for breakfast. He doesn't need to be tweeting the personal events of his life. But as big corporations are going to be moving into this realm, because these are where the eyeballs are. You've got to go where the eyeballs are if that's your media strategy. So I don't think it has to be as others have used social media in the past, the personalization, and I also don't think you should entrust your social media policy to a 20-year-old. But you've got to play where the eyeballs are.
Asher, what do you think? Social CEOs, should they be like politicians and be out there all the time?
I mean, I guess it suits their agenda, doesn't it? But I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Ali, are you guys making any sort of like leadership, like individuals for your organization that we're going to see more? Are we going to see more Ali Bullock presence around WWF? Or are you guys still going to keep that sort of a personal thing? Are you going to take your leadership public?
Because that's what the world needs, is more Ali Bullock on the internet. I think they need more Padstow on the internet as well, to be honest with you.
Padstow's Ali's dog.
Yeah, sorry for anybody who's.
I agree.
We want more Padstow. Come on, let's bring him to HK Social.
Padstow's authored a book and has more Facebook followers than Ali.
He does indeed, and he's catching up with you, Mr. Oatway.
Good luck.
It's a good question. Are we going to have a face of WWF? I think we will moving forward. We want to get more into blogging. We want to do more stuff behind the scenes. Obviously, I'm Asia's foremost charity wildlife photographer. I'm also the photographer for World Wildlife Fund. So putting my face in front of, the panda, if that works, we'll do it. I think we're still evaluating, and I'm with Ash on this one. I'm not really sure whether it's a great idea. I think it depends on the brand.
Yeah.
If you're Virgin and you're Richard Branson, it works really well. If you're WWF, no, we're going to look at that one.
Could you be tweeting from the panda's voice? I mean, would you consider a mascot type account?
That's a good question, Andrew. Someone's done that. The guy's did Chengdu Panbassador or something. Absolutely. Okay. If I can find it, maybe I'll whip it up while Jay's just talking away here. It's brilliant. I mean, they literally have this panda that kind of tweets out and all the stuff they're doing. It was all over my newsfeed, so I'll find it and get it into the...
well, wait, look at that.
Chengdu Panbassador.
Final thoughts. We need to sort of get towards the end of this. Got a couple things else I want to share still, but wrapping up the political part of this. Final thoughts. Start with you, Andrew. How's this all going to pan out?
It's too early. It's still 12 days away. In 5 days from now, the election will be pretty much toast because the mathematics of the Electoral College will be set. There's still a chance for both candidates to screw up and push a couple points to the other side. We also need to note in the U.S., which is actually starting to fill my Twitter feed, is the entire east coast of the United States is about to get slammed by a massive storm. Remnants of the perfect storm in 1991. This could cause billions of dollars in damage from Washington, D.C. to Boston. So, quite frankly, the politics story might get kicked off the front pages next week if this storm comes through.
Wow.
And, look, 12 days is a bloody long time in social media. 1 hour is a long time in social media, so it's too early to tell, I guess.
I'd like to think the other way. I like to think that this actually is telling us a lot about where we're going, or at least I'm very optimistic, very hopeful that I was writing stories about Obama 4 years ago coming into office and everything that he used on the campaign trail that was so revolutionary at the time. And
it's old hat now.
Yeah, well, it is a bit old hat now. But what I think there was a lot of, as soon as he got to office, he had a lot of roadblocks. Suddenly there was this realization that you can't just do everything public, and everything the president says is on record, and all this had to get sorted out. He wanted a BlackBerry. It took him forever to get like a proper encrypted super BlackBerry, especially made for him, but he got it. And it's been like a really slow uphill battle. But he's done, he's done AMAs on Reddit. He's done YouTube town hall chats. He's done things that are just so much more out there than anybody's ever done. And I mean, there's always the first president to do things. Kennedy was known for the first TV stuff, and Roosevelt, I was reading about, who did the first radio things. And so there are presidents who just get feet at the right place when technology emerges. But if we keep drawing the graph up, so where does this keep going? And I don't have time to show it today, but there's a great Clay Shirky. He's a media a pundit, expert, analyst, consultant, professor, and he's talking about open government and the idea that this conversation, and hopefully we can get a smarter conversation going that's not just all of these really horrible comments. There's a way to filter that out and just get the really good, smart people moving up and making for a better, smarter, more open government, not just in the U.S., but anywhere in the world where democracy's there and that has these tools to get more people involved in the conversation. So I'm really upbeat. I think this stuff, it is early days in the sense that the technology still feels quite new, but I think we're well on the right path towards some major significant change, whether that's in 4 years or 12, I don't know, but it's coming for us. Moving along, something we did a little bit accidentally last week that I think we want to pick up and keep trying is sort of end the show on our memes of the week, which is the videos and things that we've sites, whatever it is, funny things, binders full of women, whatever it is that week that was going around that hit you as particularly good, funny, interesting, outrageous, or whatever. Who wants to go first?
I got one here. This didn't get a lot of press outside of the military bloggers I found. They really found this quite interesting. Ronald Brown was a World War II serviceman who stepped on a landmine in 1944, and he passed away just a few weeks ago in England. His body was cremated, and then the family discovered a shocking surprise. They were delivered almost a half a pound of shrapnel that came out of the cremation. This is something that this guy had been carrying around in his leg for over 50 years. You need to Google shrapnel cremation, and you will see the picture. The picture tells 1,000 words. The Daily Telegraph has an amazing photo of all the stuff that this guy's leg was tipping off airport detectors all over the world for the last 60 or 70 years. But it was an amazing photo. It's an amazing story, and it's gone around quite a bit in a small subset of the military bloggers and folks like that.
Just a little picture here for everybody.
Yeah, that was in his leg.
Amazing.
Wow. Yeah. I also heard that they've just dug up a bunch of World War II Mustang planes at the end of a runway in Burma, completely in the crate still, buried there a bunch of years ago, and effectively doubled the non-Mustang parts in the world somehow. So cool. Burma's just got a big lift to their economy this year.
Spitfires, Mr. Oatway. They were Spitfires.
Yeah. Thanks, Ali. Fact checking as always. Well done.
That's me on the internet. It's called Google. You may have heard of it. Very useful.
Yeah.
My tip for this week is panda related. Chengdu Ambassador. Go check it out on Facebook. Absolutely hilarious. Have you got my image up?
Yeah, can you screen share that with us, Ali?
It's on his chat.
It's on my chat. I'm screen sharing now. Here we go. It's coming up now. Oh, share selected window. Can you see that?
Yeah, I see that.
So everybody should be checking out Chengdu Panda Ambassador. Cute photos of pandas, etc., etc., etc. Panda doing something. I don't know what's doing here. If you can see this.
Is this from that panda research facility up there? Or?
I think I think it might be. I think it's just utterly hilarious. I don't know if anybody can see that right now, but that's Romney taking a bath. Anyway, it's all fun, and they're incredibly cute pandas. I mean, check out this little one. Right? Okay, come on. Who cares about the US election when you've got that to look at, right? Awesomely cute pandas. So there we go. All panda loving today.
Asha, what do you got for us?
Awesome. I don't know if you can see my screen. I think so, hopefully.
Yep.
I am so into Gangnam Style. Crazy. I mean, we all are at Storyful. We're finding so many versions of it. Before they've gone viral, and then they've got hundreds of thousands of hits. But the best one by far, it's not Gangnam meeting Ban Ki-moon or anything like that. It's Ai Weiwei doing his own version of Gangnam Style. It's awesome, and I'm sure that there's a little bit of a political message in there because he's got all of his mates, most of whom are Western, dancing with him. But it's awesome. I reckon you should check it out.
Can you hit the play button?
Yeah, we'll listen a bit. Oh, it's awesome.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, I think he actually mentions Mud Horse in there somewhere, which is the grass Mud Horse style.
Grass Mud Horse.
Which, if you can Google that to find out what that means.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, Asha. I love that.
Where's the Storyful version?
Yeah, the Storyful.
Yeah.
With your
Honestly,
staff.
I really want to do one.
All right. I've got one here. I'm gonna try and do the YouTube share. If this works. This is 007 Coke Zero. It's pretty self.
Whoa. I think you have to screen share it.
Hello, Mr. Otway. I can't hear you.
I can hear you, Ali.
All right, can you guys not see this?
No, you're back.
No, you go back and I think you have to screen share it. I think it takes
Yeah,
over YouTube.
I'll share it another way.
Yeah.
I'll share it this way instead.
My screen share is stuck. Sorry, guys.
All right, so that, there it is, and I'll play again. All right, so this is a Coke vending machine in, I don't know, train station somewhere, and the violinist is in on it. She's playing the 007 tune. And then it basically gets you to enter your name in and then says you got 70 seconds to get to platform 6. And she starts playing the theme song, and everybody starts taking off running to get their free movie tickets. And so it's sort of like a flash mob thing because everybody in the place is kind of in on it. The guy with the mop is in on it. The singers, they're in on it. They're rapping. The woman in red tries to stop everybody and distract them as their way up the stairs. Joggers going the wrong way the escalator, so you're forcing them up the staircase. Somebody walking way too many dogs.
That's very clever.
Big pane of glass. All the musicians along the way are playing the James Bond theme song. And people tripping on the fruit. And then people have like iPads with timing, with seconds on it. So it's fantastic. You've got, you know, the extra pressure of like how much time you've got left. And just everywhere you go, like they're ready to get you.
Very clever.
And so this is quite good. And at the end, you have to hum the tune to get your tickets. And everybody at this point is out of breath and trying their best to hum it. So then they've got all the cast of everybody shows up and hums it with them to help them get it. And
I would Indiana Jones everybody and just.
This is like. This is
You do that in TST, Andrew.
Yeah.
This is 5 point. Oh, I think we lost Asha somewhere. And all this. This is 5.3 million views. And I think what I really like most about this, screen sharing.
5.3 million, Jay. That's quite an incredible number.
Well, given that it's only been out for a week.
But very clever engagement. Very, very clever engagement.
Well, this is it. This is what I think the point that I really want to make on this is. Sorry, I'm gonna get my little screen thing sorted out here. Yeah, I guess the point that I want to make. Can you see me still?
Yeah, we see you.
You're good.
I keep sort of ashes, I guess, blinking in and out. The point I want to make on this, though, is that all the way through this, I'm thinking James Bond. I'm like laughing at the adventure. I'm thinking, hey, that's a cool experience. I'd so like to be in that myself. And I guess I don't think of Coke Zero anywhere until sort of at the very end. And it's sort of by Coke Zero. And I think we've talked a lot about how we create interesting viral things that get 5.3 million views. And the whole point of this is that Coca-Cola is not really in this story. It's not about Coke at all. It's about this experience. It's about this other crazy thing that's going on that's kind of fun and interesting and coming up with new ideas. And I think that's what really, really matters in social today is trying to do that sort of thing.
5 million. I wonder how much that would cost to get 5 million people to actually watch that ad on, regular TV.
Exactly. That's pricey stuff. All right. So, did everybody get a chance to share? Yeah.
I think so.
Then I think that pretty much brings us to the end of Another Social Currents, our longest ever. Thank you all very much for the discussion. This isn't the last of it. This is, in fact, just the beginning, a preview, if you will, of what takes place live next Friday morning, starting at 9 a.m. at Pure Restaurant and Bar in Soho here in Hong Kong. For those of you not in Hong Kong who want to tune in, and there is 3 viewers out there now. Thank you all so very much. Great to have you with us today. And for all of those who will be watching this later, next Friday, that's October 2nd, right?
Yeah, I think so.
October 2nd.
November 2nd.
November 2nd. Yes, thank you. It's a month, right? November 2nd. Pure Restaurant Bar. Come down if you can. If you can sign up meetup.com/HKSocial. And we will have Asha back with us. We will have Ali, myself, the rest of the HK Social crew. And we'll be talking about all the latest and greatest news in social media, things that are going on as well. It's a great opportunity to network with Hong Kong's leading socialistas, Gujarati, and other sort of people with online street cred. So once again, just signing off, say a little last goodbye. Thank you very much to Asha Phillips. She's at Asha Phillips on Twitter. Andrew Layden, who is at Penguin6 on Twitter, and Ali Bullock, who is at Ali Bullock, and of course myself at JOA. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you again next week live after HK Social for a wrap-up on everything from the month and whatever else we come up with. All right, say goodbye, everybody.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you.